So it's the start of the year, and always at the beginning of the year, for those of you who have had a chance to have a break, it's a chance to reset. And of course, this is where most people set New Year's resolutions, which we know don't work, because they don't work unless there's real commitment. So that is a decision, and a decision is when you cut away all other options and you commit 100% to it. So the beginning of the year is always a nice time. It's a fresh start, and it's a time to rethink things. But nothing's really going to change unless you commit to making that change permanent. And to do that, you have to understand that there is a phase, a period of time, where it requires very intentional, conscious effort until it becomes habit. Now, let me pause there quickly, and on a slightly different note, for those of you who don't know, I released or published my first book in October last year, 2025, and the book is written for people who feel a sense of calling towards purpose, or feel that there's something missing in life. With all the striving, with all the busyness, with all the external measures of success, there's still something missing. And whether you're a parent, whether you're a student, whether you're an executive, whether you're a middle manager, doesn't matter. We all grapple with this at some stage. So the book is called There's a Reason You Are Here. From busyness to purpose, from survival to a life that matters. In the book is written, it follows two characters, so it's written in story form so that you can really relate to the characters. And the characters are composite characters that I have created from working with thousands of people over the years and recognizing patterns. And so you'll find the characters very relatable, and embedded in the story are some key principles which are then pulled out at the end of each chapter with reflection points, sometimes some exercises. And so there's a lot of powerful insight in that book, and I've thoroughly enjoyed writing it, and it's consolidated a lot of my own thoughts and ideas and philosophies about life. So it's been a fun exercise. And so if you are interested, you can go and find the book on Amazon. There's a Reason You Are Here. Either order the print copy or the Kindle version. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. Questions are extremely powerful because questions shape our focus. As Anthony Robbins often says, you don't experience life, you experience the life you focus on. Whatever we choose to focus on determines what we process and therefore what we make meaning of. I was listening to a podcast earlier, and if you're familiar with how social media works, they work with these algorithms. So whatever you start to click on and watch and look at, it gives you more of that. And so it starts to feed you into this rabbit hole that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And this particular guy on the podcast said to his friends, he asked them a question like, is this what your experience is, or is it just me? And their response was, it's just you. It's just your algorithm. And I thought that's a really nice way to think about it. Because in the same way that social media sells us our own propaganda and reinforces our own thoughts and ideas, so do our own narratives. And because we get into the habit of focusing on the same things all the time, we get fed the same material out of which to make meaning of life, and therefore we build the same narratives all the time, which then further reinforce the belief that that's true. But when we start to ask better questions, we start to notice things that we didn't notice before. We start to process information that we didn't process before. And we start to change the raw material with which we actually make sense of our life. And that can be very fundamental. Now, attention, I like to use the word attention rather than focus. Whatever we are placing our attention on or focusing our attention on is what we are giving our energy to. And since we don't control our life, we co-create it. Life shows up. There's a lot of things in your life, most things in fact, that you had nothing to do with. I had nothing to do with the weather today, but it is what it is. And so it's the energy I bring to what life brings that determines how my results and outcomes are shaped. So I have designed 2 questions that I am asking myself regularly and catching myself with in certain situations. And I think these 2 questions you might find very helpful, especially if you make a commitment to embed them, to make them a habit. And the first question is what I'm doing, or is what I'm deciding, or is the action I'm taking or about to take, or is what I'm thinking coming from clarity? What is clarity? Clarity is when we are not operating out of a triggered state. So there's no internal disturbance. There's no internal static and noise. That can be emotional, that can be mental stories that we're running over and over. Whenever we're not in that state, we're in a state of clarity. And it's from a state of clarity that we can tune in and hear the signal of purpose. We can tune in to the signal of inspiration. But we can't do that when there's static. It's like a radio station that the tuner is, you've just tuned a little bit out of the radio station, so there's all this white noise and it's hard to hear what's being broadcast. So, first question is what I'm doing coming from clarity? Second question, am I bringing my best energy to this moment? Because, as I said, your attention is it's the interface between your energy and the energy that life brings. So if you're not bringing your best energy, then the low quality of energy you're bringing is what you are co-creating life with. Why would you do that? So those 2 questions, if you stop, catch yourself and ask, is this coming from clarity? If it's not, don't do it or stop doing it. Second question, am I bringing my best energy to this moment? If you're not, then bring it. Bring your best energy to the moment. So I hope you'll find that helpful. I know I certainly do. I've thought about these questions a lot and I've designed them very carefully, and I'm very excited about applying these questions more and more in my own life. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts as you work through these questions, and if you find them helpful or you have any insights or comments that you'd like to add around what I've shared today, please do in the comments.